Sup, guys? Ooh, what a week it was last week. Um, Sorry I ended the stream early, but it was just getting out of hand, and the score didn't really change much. But thank you guys all for watching. We're going to be going over all of last week's slate of NFL games, and then all of Wild Card Weekend's slate of games, and then prediction time, and then yeah, we might go over a few other things, but like how FS1 is doing. Ooh, but yeah. Um yeah, again, thank you all for watching. Um let's get right into it. The Saturday games. What a time that was, right? The Ravens Browns, the Raven saw that coming. Um the Bengals Steelers. Um, it was 1917. The Steelers had many chances to win that game, but they just didn't. Um, and then also the Bengals players were kind of salty this week as apparently the Chiefs threw their game against the Broncos, and now they're out of the playoffs. But you can't blame it on that. You should have won against the Patriots. You should have won any of your games before then. Like any one of those games, you beat beat one of those the Ravens one of those times you were just about to. Like you're looking at the Chiefs for blowing your chances. You lost to the Patriots, the Commanders, who you say you guys are able to beat the Chiefs. Well, beat the Commanders. Beat the Ravens one of those times you were just about to. Beat the Eagles. Beat the beat the Chargers. Beat the Steelers that other time. You can. You could. There's so many other reasons you should be upset that you didn't make the playoffs other than the Chiefs. Just pick one, not the Chiefs, because the Chiefs are not the reason you missed the playoffs. They're not. Um, the Texans, Titans. Um, yeah, Texans are going through a slow year this year, and the Titans are just bad. They're like really bad. The Texans may be just above mid, but the Titans are worse than mid. So, CJ Stroud was only in for one drive that game and went 6 for 6, I think, for a touchdown or something. Um, Panthers, Falcons. This game, I was watching it and I was like, oh boy, it seems like the Panthers are going to find a way to win this one because I was like, the Falcons should win this one, but the Panthers might find a way to win it. And they did. In overtime. Gosh, in overtime. Bryce Young winning in overtime. Um, Next is the Buccaneers. Mike Evans got his 1,000-yard season, so good for him. Even though he missed 4 or 5 games in there somewhere. Um, Saints, buddy. Find a way to get better next year. Like one of these years you're gonna have to offload your cap. Like one of these years you're just gonna have to eat it and then rebuild because goodness, you started off 2-0. You beat the brakes off the Cowboys, but then you end the year 5-12. Don't know if your coach is the guy, but also you need to offload a lot of cap. So one of these years, man, you can't keep kicking the can down the road. Um, Patriots, Bills. The Mitch Trubisky played this game, so I thought the Bills were going to win it because I thought Josh Allen was going to play, but he didn't, and the Bills lost. So, Colts, Jaguars. Gosh, what to say about this game? Um, and I just stopped watching after the first couple minutes because I was just like, this is boring. Why is this? Why is this? Why is this game? Um, Commanders, Cowboys. I don't know who started this game. I didn't really watch it. Um, Mariota. That's right. That's right. And the Cowboys still lost. Ooh. But hey, good for Mariota for keep fighting because that injury he suffered, and then he just was pushed by the wayside. Didn't do too well 2 years ago. Got benched in the middle of the season, and now he's still playing. He's still kicking butt, and he's still fighting. So good for him. Good for him. Eagles, Cowboys. Man, they should have let Saquon. He should have let Saquon Barkley go for that record. Not saying that I wanted him to get it because I wanted Eric Dickerson to keep the record, but man, he should have had the chance to take the record. Bears, Packers, man, the deed for the Packers, the Bears held in the Packers' name is still there, but man, you can't lose to them like this, man. Like, let's see next year because Jordan Love is still, I think he's 3-1 against the Bears, but you can't lose games like this, man. Or else the Bears are going to be like, yeah, you don't own us anymore. We're more your equals. You can't have that. Not the Bears, man. Um, Seahawks, Rams. Seahawks already got eliminated, so they're like, I'm leaving here with something. We're going to beat you this game, this meaningless game, because we're not going to pass you in the playoff race, and this game is practically meaningless to you, but we're going to win. We're going to leave here with something. Jets, Dolphins. Man, the Dolphins needed this game because if by some happenstance the Chiefs beat the Broncos, they needed this game. They just didn't get it done. The Chiefs Broncos game, Carson Wentz had two teams' playoff hopes in their hands, and he just went like, "Nah, I'm just gonna, I'm just gonna lose this game, man." But I don't buy the fact that the Chiefs were scared of the Bengals, and that's why they threw the game. Like, the Bengals fans are just coping so hard right now. Like, goodness. goodness. Like, where in your life do you have to go down this road where you think that the Chiefs threw the game because they didn't want the Bengals in the playoffs? Like, they're going for a three-peat. Do you really think that they would honestly care if the Bengals played them in the playoffs? They played the Bengals already this year. They beat the Bengals already this year. You know, the Bengals have a very similar relationship to the Chiefs that the Bills do. They beat them in the regular season and then they lose in the postseason. Like, it's just one of those times, except the first year where Joe Burrow got the better of them, but then since then, what what have they done? What have they done? They lost 2 years ago, and they didn't even make the playoffs last year. So blame your coaching, blame Zach Taylor, blame losing to the Patriots. Do something else than just be like, "Oh, the Chiefs threw the game. That's why we're not going to the play." If you have to rely on somebody else to make the playoffs, you don't deserve it. You don't. You don't. Control your own destiny. I know the Bengals always have this like rough start. Start better, and you won't be in this situation. Um, Chargers, Raiders. Chargers just having a tune-up before the postseason. We'll see how they do. Hopefully, they don't charger it again. But until I see differently, that's what I'm gonna think will happen. Because I know Harbaugh is a really good coach, but he just has to get that Charger stench off the team first, maybe 1 or 2 years. So I'm expecting a charging, but I will be happy to be wrong. Um, Cardinals 40. Now we decide to win. Like, now we decide to win. Like, where was this earlier in the year? Like, man, this team decides to show up in the weirdest of times. Like, couldn't we have done this against the Seahawks? Couldn't we have done this against the Rams? The Panthers. We could have done this against the Panthers. We would still be in it. We beat the Rams. We would be in front. We beat the Seahawks. I'm getting upset. God. Just another lost season. Hopefully next year. Hopefully next year we'll actually get into the postseason, because otherwise I was frankly pleasantly surprised we were leading the division in the middle of this year, and then we just lost it. I had a feeling that it was gonna go this way, but it's just like the Panthers. The Panthers. Oh, and next one is Lions Vikings. You saw my reaction to that. Um, Lions just suffocated the Vikings offense. Like, threw everything in the kitchen sink at them all night, and they just crumbled. So one of these time, like, they lost their top left tackle Darisaw, but it was the whole line that night. Like, they couldn't pick up stunts. They couldn't pick up blitzers. Sam was holding the ball a little too long because of like deep routes, but also the whole game was really really bad. The defense was playing well until like the fourth quarter. Yeah. Yeah, it was still an 8-point game at the beginning of the fourth quarter. And then when Gibbs scored that touchdown at the beginning of the fourth, it was just lights out. So, anyway. Still believe in the Vikings to make a run, but they can't have games like this in the playoffs. Um, Now for team reviews, I'm gonna go over each team and their seasons, and then get to the wild card weekend because, gosh, and the predictions of wild card weekend. I don't know if I said that, but um, I'm gonna go on the list that I have here. Buffalo, AFC East, AFC first, and then NFC. Buffalo had a interesting start there. I think they started off like they lost a couple of games in there, which were like, why did you lose that? Like they got blasted by the Ravens. They lost to the Texans. Like they started off 3-2, and then they rattled off a bunch of wins. They beat the brakes off the Seahawks. They beat the Dolphins twice. They beat the Colts. And then now was happening when they beat the Colts. They were 8-2, and the Chiefs were undefeated, and they beat the Chiefs. I think that was, yeah. They beat the 49ers in the snow. They barely lost to the Rams. So, yeah, I think this was a really good year, as it was supposed to be a rebuilding year for the Bills because they lost Stephon Diggs in the offseason, and people were like, how is Josh Allen going to do without his number one receiver? Like, Stephon Diggs is a one receiver. Like, he is like a stereotypical one receiver. It takes a lot, like, double teams and stuff well. But, man, like, he's like top 10. Like Stephon Diggs is top 10. No higher than 10. But yeah, got a lot younger at the position. Got Keon Coleman. Got a bunch of other guys. I knew he would be fine. He's one of the top quarterbacks in this generation. Have him at 2 to Mahomes 1. But yeah, they had a really good year. Miami. Um, I've been saying it for most of the year, but after week 2 when Tua went down, it was kind of like a reset for them, you know? Um, like they kind of hit a standstill. Like their offense was just horrid for those 4 weeks. And I think they could have beaten a lot of those teams, like maybe all those teams. Like the Titans? The Titans? Really? Um the Colts? the Seahawks. Like, man. And that really set their season back. Like I said in multiple streams from them, they're just when they lost to my Cardinals, I was like, this is a really week 3 for them. This is still the beginning of the year, and they're gonna have to relearn how to do this. Like, and then they lost to the Bills because the Bills are just better. They beat the Rams and they beat the Raiders. They beat the Patriots again. Like, I think that was the only team that they beat. Yeah, the only team that they beat in those 4 games that Tua was gone. But they they lost to the Packers because it was getting cold, and like I think in order for the Dolphins to go to the playoffs, I think they have to get most of their wins in September and October, where the weather is milder, they're at home. They'll get some of these wins because they beat the Jets. Oh god, they lost to the Texans. They beat the 49ers, another warm weather team. They beat the Browns. And then they lost to they lost to the Jets. So it's more like they need to get most of their wins in September and October, where you know they have the advantage of warm weather. They can't do anything in cold weather. Jets, man. I saw a Jets fan who was like, I hate that we traded for Aaron Rodgers because I didn't have all this hope. I didn't have this hope to lose when inevitably Jets are going to jet and maybe Aaron Rodgers plays 1 or 2 more years, but it's not going to be with the Jets. Like, maybe it will be with the Jets. Maybe they'll keep him on for next year. I would love to see that happen. Now, I would love to see like him give them that little bit of hope in the beginning of the season and then just jet the rest of the season. Like this year. They beat the Patriots. Good job. They beat the Dolphins. Good job. New England, this was a punt year. Just to see what you have in Drake May. I think they have a really good quarterback. He's really talented, but he needs just a little more like growth. They fired Gerard Mayo, which I said it last time, but I just thought that they were the kind of organization who isn't going to do that. Like, they waited till the end of the season. At least they did that. But as soon as the season ended, they fired him. And I was like, dude, like the team that Gerard Mayo was given just sucked. Like, there was nothing there. They got scores of injured. It was just like for the first 2 weeks, people were like, "Oh, the frisky Patriots. Oh, they could be something." And then their talent caught up to them, and like their offense is dreadful because they have nobody. Like, they need a offensive line for Drake May, and I'm kind of happy that they beat the Bills this last week because they wouldn't be tempted to take Travis Hunter. They wouldn't be tempted to take Travis Hunter because they need an offensive line. And there's like you can always get you can always get a big time good receiver. You can always do that. Receiver is one of the highest, like, you hit on more receivers than any other position besides running back. You know, like there's always like 4 or 5 great receivers. There's like a dozen really good, and then it's just like these receivers are getting better and better every year. And like offensive linemen, like you can't just like be like, oh, we'll get an offensive lineman later. No, no. The higher you get, the more accurate a grade on a lineman is. Take the lineman. Take the lineman with the top pick, so that you can protect your franchise quarterback for years to come. Like I know that like it's probably a really like unpopular opinion, but I still think that the Bengals should have picked Sewell instead of Chase. And I like yes, they made the Super Bowl that year, uh, his second year. But like the same issues have plagued the Bengals for years. Like they still don't have a great offensive line. Like, they still don't have a great offensive line. Just getting out of the East. North, Baltimore. Um, Baltimore had a really good year. Their defense has been slowly getting better as the weeks go on. It's in their DNA, so they're always going to have a good to really good defense. They have a chance this year. I think they're really good, but we'll just have to see once playoff time comes because that's when they tend to blow games, but not as much this year. Pittsburgh, they're gonna get their mandatory 9 to 10 wins, and then they'll bow out first week of the playoffs. This year, they're gonna have a better chance because they're playing the Texans in the playoffs, but like, goodness. Bengals, I already talked about them for a bit, but they needed a lot of things to go right, and it just didn't. Too bad, so sad. Um, like you can't be 9-8 and expect to have a playoff spot, especially in the AFC where the top teams are top. You Houston. Oh, Cleveland. I forgot Cleveland. Cleveland. I think you were gonna get something similar to this year, anyways, because Deshaun Watson was really puking in the beginning of the season, and he got hurt. Injuries happen. You need to get a younger quarterback. Deshaun is just not the same anymore, and will really not be the same after this injury. So, and I believe in Kevin Stefanski to figure it out because he's won 2 NFL Coach of the Years. Houston, kind of step back year. They still won 10 games, but they're in the FC South, which is buns, but I think they should win next year as well if the Colts don't get it together. But Houston has a problem, and it is their offensive play calling. Their offensive line, their offensive line is atrocious. Like in the middle of the year, like they just kept going off sides, missing blocks. Like the Christmas game I was watching, and they couldn't pick up stunts. They couldn't pick up stunts. The Ravens were doing just the Ravens were getting to CJ Stroud by doing like having their defensive tackles like when they're lined up, like go like like this, and they would get to CJ Stroud because two tackles would go after the same guy. So hopefully they can get it solved in the playoffs, but don't have much hope. Hope for that. Uh, Indy, the Colts, man, just the year where you're just like, what went wrong? Anthony Richardson, on and off. He gets injured sometimes. He gets tired other times. I don't know what you do. I don't know what you do if you're Indianapolis because Anthony Richardson is clearly really talented. Like he can make all the throws, but his accuracy goes from like high deep throw accuracy, medium throw accuracy, and low short throw accuracy. Like the throws that you need to have it, like the check downs and the stuff like that, he just misses, and is just like they need to sit down this off season and just train it. So we'll have to see what happens there for next year, but Jacksonville. I know Trevor Lawrence got hurt at the end of the year there, but I don't think you were gonna get a sniff at the playoffs this year. Trevor Lawrence this year was just a weird year for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Doug Peterson is probably out, but we'll have to see. Yeah, don't know what to say for the Jaguars. Their their season was toast at the beginning when they lost to the Bears in London. Um, when they got smoked by the Bears in London. Um, when was that? Yeah, start of their 2-game series in London. they they got smoked by the Bears, and then they smoked the Jaguars. Smoked the Patriots. I mean, it was just one of those years where the Jacksonville Jaguars went to the playoffs. They won a playoff game. Next year, they missed the playoffs. They regressed. Um, Trevor Lawrence, is he still the guy? They're one of the worst teams in the league. Trevor Lawrence is hurt. What are they gonna do now? Like this is the same arc they went on with oh god, what's his name? Their last quarterback. This is the same storyline. It's just over and over again. I don't think they move on from Lawrence. I think that they'll move on from their coach before they move on from Lawrence. So we'll have to see there. Tennessee, I don't think Levis is the guy. Um, like he can make good throws. I think that's about it. He has funny reactions to things, but I mean, They might give him one more year. They might not. He just needs to be a lot more consistent because he has good throws. He has good drives and stuff, but he just has to. Maybe he's like a bunch of other things. People where they just need to take the consistency of the good drives and then just move them together and be like, okay, you can have bad like snaps or something, but then you need to lock in and be take those good performances and string them together. Um, the West, AFC West, Kansas City reigns again. No big surprise there. Um, like, what are you gonna say? KC is better than than all their AFC West teams. It's not really close. I know they had some close games with the Chargers and Denver, but they're just better than them at this point. Patrick Mahomes is better than Knicks and Herbert, and I think that really showed this year because Knicks has good coaching with Sean Payton. Herbert really has good coaching with Harbaugh, and they still couldn't beat the Chiefs. So um, I'll say a lot to Denver about Denver as well. They had a really good year. They waited a little too long to to clinch the playoffs, but hey, you do what you got to do, right? You win the games. You win the games that's in front of you, and that's what matters. And I don't put much stock on them blowing out the Chiefs because they were playing the Chiefs backups. So Vegas, oh boy, poor Vegas. They still have no players. They have no talent on their team. They have no quarterback. They got rid of Josh Jacobs, the only real talent on their offense. I don't know who else, but yeah, the Las Vegas Raiders are just bad. Philly, NFC East, Philly. Um, Good bounce back from last year. Um, uh, I don't know if they'll beat the Packers because the Packers took them to the wire last the first week um and that's pre Toyotathon Jordan Love. So, but yeah, I think Philly should win on Wild Card Weekend. That's getting ahead of myself, but I think Philly should win. Um, I think they're one of the best teams in the NFC. I think it's Philly. It's the Lions, Philly, and Minnesota, and then I think it's everyone else. That's just my thoughts. Um, Washington, um, really good year. I didn't see this from them. Um, yeah, Jaden Daniels was the most uh, NFL ready of the rookies. Who would have thought, But yeah, it's a really good year for them, and I think it's many more to come. I think he's RG3 2.0. I don't know if he's gonna get hurt like RG3, but yeah, he's RG3 2.0. He can throw better than RG3 ever could. He can run better than RG3, and he had he had a really good season. Um, Dallas. I saw some people online saying, "Oh, our Dallas season was over when Dak got hurt." No, Dallas season was over when they got blown out by the Saints. Like that's when I was like, "Oh, they're not very good." It was the beginning of the year. You were all healthy, and you got smoked by the Saints. Like in your building, So like you can say that it was when Dak got hurt. No, it was when you got smoked by the Saints. And like hopefully next year can be better, but yeah, it wasn't a good year in Dallas. New York, geez, man. You threw the top pick, and then Las Vegas threw. Thankfully, you got it back on track, the tank back on track this week, but you're still not going to get the number one pick. So, yeah. Thank Drew Lock. He ruined your tank. NFC North, Detroit, really good year, Detroit. Proving me wrong, even with a injury ravaged defense. Your defensive coordinator is really good, Aaron Glenn. And he proved that Sunday night against the Vikings. He just threw everything in the kitchen sink at Sam Darnold and played sticky coverage. Yeah. It was just one of those games where the real number one seed, the real best team in the NFC showed up, and the third best didn't. Minnesota, unfortunately for Minnesota, they took the number 5 seed. Yeah, one game off. I don't take last week's failure to launch as indicative of anything that is their season. They still had a really great season. They're playing the Rams, so they can have some revenge for one of their losses this year. Yeah, still a really good season. Sam Darnold should get comeback player of the year. Yeah, hopefully, Minnesota gets a couple wins in the playoffs for the fan base and all that. Hopefully, they get to the Super Bowl for the fan base because during this run where I've been rooting for Sam Darnold, I've seen all these Vikings fans like, when's the other shoe gonna drop? Because it's the Vikings, and the other shoe always drops. And I'm like, oh, that's sad. So Green Bay. Oh, Green Bay. Like, how did you lose to the Bears, man? The Bears. Um, man, you guys really you guys had an outside shot to win the division, and and then you lost to the Vikings and the Bears. But hey, you still have a shot. You're in the dance. You're the 7th seed. Like, you're 6-6 in conference. Like 1-5 in division. Like, what do you want me to say? Like, it just it was one of those years. You're the 7th seed again. Maybe you can pull an upset like last year and go to the divisional round and get your butt kicked by the Lions. But hey, that's just me. Um, Chicago. This was really one of those years when you have hope because you have a really good quarterback, but then issues start to pop up like the offensive line. I've always said the head coach was a liability, and people were like, "No, this is their year. They're gonna go to the Super Bowl and lose in the Super Bowl." What? Um, get Johnson, get Vrabel. You should be fine. You should be fine. Um, South, Tampa. Um, Tampa, you guys. What can I say? Baker Mayfield's doing really well. They lost against the Falcons twice, which meant that the division they were second place and not going to the playoffs for a little bit there. So, and it came all the way down to this week because if they lost this week and the Falcons won, the Falcons would have been going to the yeah, the Falcons would have been going to the dance and not you. So, hey, you got the 3 seed. You're going to be playing. Oh, who are you going to be playing? You're going to be playing the Commanders, and hope you guys do well. Falcons, you almost had it. You almost had it. Then Kirk Cousins turned into a pumpkin, and I hate that word. Hate that word. Kirk Cousins regressed, and you put in Penix. Just needed to put in Penix a little bit earlier, but hey, maybe they know something that I don't know. So Kirk Cousins was really good, and then regressed into not that good. Hopefully he comes back, but I don't know. He's getting pretty old, and his Achilles tear really seems to be limiting him. So um, he has a lot of money that the Falcons still owe him, so he should be all right. Yeah. Um, Carolina benching Bryce Young could be the greatest thing that they ever did for him. um, Learning how to be a quarterback from the Red Rifle did wonders. Kind of stepping back and being like, okay, what am I doing wrong? How can I fix it? Stuff like that. And Andy Dalton really helped him. So I don't know if he's going to be as good as like the other young quarterbacks. I don't know if he's going to be as good as CJ Stroud because I still think CJ Stroud is more talented. But hey, he is doing really well. So all I can hope. New Orleans, New Orleans. This year was the type of year where you're just like, what went wrong? You started off 2-0. Everyone thought you were going to go to the playoffs, and then you just lost so many games straight. Yeah. You beat the Cardinals. No, that's the preseason. You beat the Panthers. You blow the doors off of the Cowboys. You barely lose to the Eagles. Like you almost beat the Eagles too. Barely lost to the Eagles. You lost to the Falcons. You lost to the Chiefs. Right there is your 2-3, 2-4, 4 in a row, 5 in a row, 6 in a row, 7 in a row. You lost 7 in a row. Like goodness Saints fans. Like that's brutal. So hopefully they can bounce back, but I think it's just time. It's just time to stop kicking the can down the road and just blow it up because you've tried literally everything else. Like ever since Drew Brees left, you've just been kicking the proverbial can down the road, and like it just isn't working. Hire someone you can trust at the helm to lead you guys through this rebuild, like the Lions did with Dan Campbell, and hopefully you guys can get back to maybe always like most of the time getting to the playoffs. West, NFC West. The Rams, gosh, they beat Seattle twice, but um, the Rams, good job on winning the division. It didn't look likely in the beginning of the year, but you got Puka back, you got Cooper Kupp back, and it seems like that really helped your offense. And your defense has been getting really like a lot better. Their defensive line has been doing a lot better. So like these last 3 weeks is concerning for your offense. After the Bills game, you guys haven't scored over. Yeah, you guys haven't like since the Bills game. The next 3 weeks, you didn't score over 20 points. And then when you finally get over that threshold, um, you lose. Like against the Bills, you scored 44 points, and then you don't score over 20 the next 3 weeks. And then when you finally do, it's against the Seahawks when you let up 30. Now, again, I don't think that's indicative of how your offense really is, but hey. And it's in LA, so hopefully hopefully you do well. Hopefully the Rams do well. Uh my family are Rams fans, and they're they're also USC fans, so they're like, I'm gonna root for Darnold to do well, but also I'm gonna root for the Rams to win. And I'm like, I'm hoping for the opposite. I'm hoping for the Rams to do well, but the Vikings to win. Seattle. Seattle. Guys, we're close. Guys, we're close. I thought you were gonna finish 9-8 again, but you didn't. Um, yeah, like unfortunately you didn't. Oh God, but unfortunately you didn't win, but win the division. But you guys did solid. You should do solid next year. Um, I'd say McDonald's first year as a head coach was a success. So, oh God, my Cardinals. Oh God, my Cardinals. What to say about this year? Um, this year was one of those years where you're just like, it's a lot like my year as a USC fan, which is not saying good things. Um, like it was kind of a roller coaster this year where we had high highs where we beat pretty good opponents, but then we had low lows where we lost to the Panthers. Like we beat the Chargers, playoff team. We kept it close with the Lions, who like are really really good. We beat the Rams the first time. We kept it close with the Bills. We almost beat the Bills. You kept it sticky with the Bills. We kept it sticky with the Vikings, and I think that's the real thing where we can keep it sticky with like really good teams, but then when we're like in the middle of the pack, like we got blown out. We got blown out by the Seahawks twice. We got smoked by the Packers. And that was mostly our fault where we we fumbled 3 times. Like the last 3 drives we fumbled the ball. Like this year was kind of that year where you're just like, what was this year? Like we have to be more consistent. San Francisco. Oh, what can I say about San Francisco? You guys are you guys were injured to hecking back. I don't know. You guys might lose Debo. You lost Ayuk for the season, although Ayuk wasn't doing too well before he got hurt. Um Still a lot of questions at quarterback. I think Brock Purdy is really good, but still questions because they have to be asked. Um yeah, I don't know what else to say. You guys, this was a tough year for you guys. You tried coming back at the end of the year, but it's just too much, too much. Now, for the playoff bracket, for the playoff games, I'm gonna go on the list that it shows here: AFC, then NFC. Um, Texans, Chargers. I'm gonna have the Chargers winning this, but I do see a couple scenarios where they charger it and lose it, having the Texans win another playoff game. Ravens, Steelers. I have the Ravens winning this one. I don't know. Um, like they're really too good to lose in the first round, the wild card round. But hey, we'll see. We'll see. Um, Bills, Broncos. I have the Bills winning this game. Um, the top seeds, Chiefs, Bills, Ravens are just really good, and I think it's gonna be Chiefs, either the Chiefs, Bills, or Ravens in the championship game, and I don't have a lot of these other teams even making it. Um, Rams, Vikings. I have the Vikings on this one. I know, but man, the Rams just limped into the playoffs the last 4 weeks. I know it's like they beat the Bills. Good. Um, like I said during their segment, like you didn't beat, like you didn't score at all the next 3 weeks. You didn't score over 20 points. Like, hopefully they get their offense back on track because they kind of did last week against the Seahawks, but they still lost. We'll have to see. Um, Buccaneers, Commanders. I have the. I think I have the Bucks. I think I agree. I have the Bucks. Um, the Commanders are a good story, but their defense is not as good as like good as the offense. But I think that I'm pretty much 50-50 on this one, where I think that the Commanders' offense can keep them in it, but their defense can lose it for them. And if Baker Mayfield throws like a couple like he could throw a bunch of interceptions. So if he throws a couple interceptions, I think the Commanders can win it. But yeah, I have the Buccaneers by maybe. I won't take the 3, but maybe like a 2 or a 1. Eagles Packers. Now the spread has it at 4.5, and it's in Philly, so that means they have at a neutral site it would be Philly 1.5, which I think it would be even. Even for me, it would be even at a neutral site because I think that the Eagles are the Packers' run defense is really good. Um, it's just their corners who are all banged up, and Jair is not coming back. But I think for the Eagles to win, they need Jalen to have a perfect night, like at least near perfect night. So I'm gonna go with the Eagles, but I don't think they're gonna blow them out. I think it will be a really close game. Um, yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't think that it's gonna be a a blowout either way. I don't think any of these games will be blowouts. Like except maybe the Broncos game. Mm, no, not even the Broncos game. The Broncos defense is pretty good. I think the Ravens might blow out the Steelers. That's the thing that I'm thinking. But all that to say, thank you guys for watching. Let me see. What's the? Is this Tennessee has the top pick? All right. So, yep. Thank you guys for watching. See y'all next time, next week for the divisional round games. Woo!